The Blue Collar Football League is back for its 8th season of play, with 11 teams in Indiana, Kentucky, and Ohio for the 2022 season. Week 1 of the BCFL season featured a matchup of 2 of the top 3 teams in the preliminary owners poll, with the Columbus Gladiators traveling to face the Cincinnati Dukes. The Dukes, ranked 3rd, were the top seed in the Western Conference playoffs last season, falling in the conference championship game to the Cincinnati Buccaneers. The Glads, ranked 2nd, made it to the BCFL championship game last year, where they also fell to the Bucs. The Dukes defeated the Gladiators in 2 games last season, although neither of those contests took place during the BCFL season. That changed in the opening week this year, although the teams had to wait out an hour delay due to weather before the game could get underway. Once they were finally able to take the field, the Dukes wasted little time. Kamani Murray hit Justin Cornwall on their 3rd play from scrimmage. He slipped 1 tackle, made another man miss, and that was enough to spring him for a 70-yard touchdown. Just over 3 minutes into the game, the Dukes were up 6-0. It took a little longer for the Gladiators to get going. They didn't get a first down until on 3rd and 1. Mike Haynes was able to slip his way ahead for 7 yards. And on the next play, Ben Kershaw floated a pass. Amata Love was able to run under it for the touchdown, and the score was tied 6-6 after the first quarter. In the second quarter, it was the Glads who struck quickly. On 4th and 13, Kamani Murray's pass was picked off by James Fields. He had a clear path to the end zone. He made it in for the pick 6. The 2-point conversion put Columbus ahead 14-6. Then on the kickoff, the Gladiators forced a fumble and they recovered, and Columbus had all the momentum going their way. But C.T. Phillips changed down the next play. Kershaw again back to pass. This time Phillips picks it off. He's not quite able to make it all the way, but still this 45-yard return sets the Dukes up at the Gladiators' 18-yard line. Murray followed that by firing this 12-yard laser to Darion Brown. Last time the Gladiators saw him, he was scoring the game-winning touchdown for the Bucs in the championship game. This time, he's bringing the Dukes to within 14-12 in the second quarter. When the Dukes get the ball back, Brent Robinson bursts up the middle. He breaks ahead for 20 yards in the Gladiators' territory. But penalties end up pushing the Dukes back, and when they're forced to punt, they can't handle the snap. The ball gets batted around, chased down. It'll be finally recovered by the Gladiators inside the 5-yard line. On 1st and goal, Michael Haynes' attempt of the middle is stuffed by the Dukes defense. But on 2nd down, he takes a pitch around the right side and is able to just reach over the goal line for the touchdown that puts the Gladiators ahead 20-12 at halftime. The Dukes opened the second half with not 1, but 2 13-yard bursts by Brent Robinson down to the 30-yard line. And on 4th down, Kamani Murray hits Justin Cornwall for what looks like a first down, but a holding penalty pushes the Dukes back and forces them to punt. Cincinnati does get the ball back, and this time Murray finds a leaping Tay White in the end zone for a 21-yard touchdown. But a penalty again pushes them back on the 2-point conversion, and they're unable to duplicate the feat. The Gladiators still lead 20-18 with 4:35 left in the third quarter. It looked like the Dukes would have another great scoring opportunity when the Gladiators couldn't handle this punt snap, but penalties on the play allowed the Gladiators to maintain possession into the 4th quarter, where Mike Haynes took this handoff around the left end, delivered a nice stiff arm before taking a blow himself on a 10-yard run to the Dukes' 31. 2 plays later, the Gladiators again struggled to secure the snap, and this time, Sir Abernathy's fumble recovery held up. The Dukes took over possession. But on 2nd down, Justin Walker knocked the ball away from Murray, and the Gladiators picked it up, and now they had the ball at the Dukes' 26-yard line. Columbus needed just 3 plays to cash in. Kershaw hit James Fields. He was making the first man miss. He works his way down 20 yards to the 6-yard line. Then it was Haynes up the middle. He almost gets in down to the 1-yard line. Then it's Kershaw making a sprint around the end. He dives for the end zone and gets in for the touchdown. He then flips a pass to Lee Saunders for 2 points to put the Gladiators up by 10, 20-18, just under 10 minutes to play. The Dukes look to make one last push. Murray lofts this pass into the bucket. Justin Cornwell hauls it in for 22 yards. Then it's Dominic Williams with a bruising 20-yard run. He's inside the 10-yard line for the Dukes. And on the next play, Murray lost one to Cornwell for their second touchdown connection of the game. But on the 2-point attempt, the Gladiators are able to bat the ball away and maintain a 28-24 lead with 4:56 remaining in the game. The Gladiators are able to run out the last 5 minutes, however, with a couple key conversions. On 3rd and 3, Kershaw hits Lee Saunders for 10 yards. Then on 4th and 5, Kershaw lofts a pass. Haynes hauls it in and picks up 10 yards and the first down. And the Gladiators are able to celebrate a 28-24 win over the Dukes in Week 1. The Dukes scored in every quarter and outgained the Gladiators 271 yards to 141, but it was mistakes that doomed them. They lost a turnover battle. The Dukes turned it over 4 times, the Glads twice. The Dukes were 0 for 4 on 2-point conversions. The Glads converted 2 of 4. And the Dukes had 9 penalties to 4 on the Gladiators. In addition, the Dukes surrendered 3 sacks while recording none themselves. Michael Haynes had 70 carries for 52 yards and a touchdown for Columbus. James Fields was the leading receiver with 3 receptions for 28 yards and had 3 tackles and also the pick 6. Justin Walker also had 7 tackles, 4 for loss, 2.5 sacks, and forced a fumble. For the Dukes, Robbins carried 14 times for 77 yards, and Kamani Murray was 16 of 32 passing for 194 yards and 4 touchdowns. Justin Cornwell hauled in 8 passes for 134 yards and 2 touchdowns. Earlier in the day across town, the defending champion Buccaneers got their season started by facing off against the Blaze and their new quarterback, Maurice Levette. It was Levette and the Blaze who got going early, first with a 16-yard quick strike along the sidelines. Then they turned to Devontae Johnson. He bruised his way ahead for 10 yards. And then Levette found Kyron Payne for 20 yards. He took the hit but held on down to the 8-yard line. But that's when Daniel Ferguson stepped in front of a pass, picked it off, and the Bucs had doused the threat. Instead, it was the Bucs who got on the board first. Davis found a wide-open C.J. Talley for 35 yards and a touchdown, and the Bucs were pretty excited about it. There's Talley celebrating with Greg Johnson, and then Davis comes in to join the celebration himself. Joe Willis gave the Bucs more reason to celebrate when he blocked a punt. He picked it up at the 10-yard line, ran it in for a touchdown, and Sin City was ahead 14-0. Southern Ohio had one last drive before halftime, but former Blaze DB Mike Bell picked off the pass with just 29 seconds before halftime. That's when the weather rolled in. The game was called a halftime and is currently a no contest. Over in Portsmouth, the Spartans looked to build upon their 10-0 season last year, and they got started early against the Huskies. Markel Kane burst through the Kentucky defense for 32 yards. Eventually, that would lead to Kane going ahead 7 yards for a touchdown. Not a lot went well for the Huskies, but on this play, Noah Corbett found Tavion Hunter. He didn't need any blockers. He's going to leap over the defender. He picked up 11 yards. But the Spartans defense took over from there. John Adams brought down Corbett in the end zone for a safety. And in the second quarter, Demetrius Thomas picked off a pass. He wasn't touched. He got back up, and he was able to go 35 yards for the touchdown. And just before the half ended, Job Swartz found Fred Crozier behind the defense for 39 yards and a 27-0 halftime lead. In the third quarter, Michael Chandler went 18 yards for another Spartans touchdown to go up 34-0. Colton Griffin did finally get the Huskies on the board in the fourth quarter with this 7-yard touchdown. But the Spartans were able to tack on one more score. Jobs Fords hit Crozier for 46 yards this time. Crozier finished with 123 yards receiving. Kane had 103 rushing. Up north, the Tuscarawas County Warriors wasted little time jumping on the Capital City Mustangs. On the Warriors' opening drive, Devin Cleddy made this diving 29-yard catch of a pass from Bailey Higginbottom. And on the next play, Higginbottom found Nico Simpson for a 21-yard score, putting the Warriors up 6-0. Higginbottom and Simpson connected again in the second quarter, this time from 19 yards out, and the Warriors led at halftime 18-2. In the third quarter, Shane Thornton took a handoff to the left. He spun out of a tackle, saw some room to the right, and worked his way all the way into the end zone, 33 yards for a touchdown, part of a 103-yard rushing effort. The Mustangs did score in the fourth quarter on this 31-yard pass from Keith Adams to Jaquia Haley, but it was the Warriors who came away with the 24-8 win. And finally, in Kentucky, it was two newcomers to the BCFL, with the Indiana Cutters facing the Kentucky Cardinals. Chris Curry brought a abrupt end to Indiana's early drive, ripping the ball away, and he was able to go 92 yards for the touchdown to put the Cardinals ahead 6-0. The Cutters were ahead 7-6 at halftime, and Marquise Holt added to the lead with a 35-yard burst in the third quarter to go ahead 13-6. With the Cardinals driving in the fourth quarter, Tay Wells recovered a fumble to end the threat. Dre Atkins tacked on a late field goal for the final score, Cutters 22, Cardinals 6. One more look at all the scores from week one. The Gladiators knocked off the Dukes 28-24. The Spartans won big over the Huskies 41-6. The Cutters won over the Cardinals 22-6. The Warriors came away with a 24-8 win against the Mustangs. The Buccaneers and Blaze game was ruled a no contest. The Tornadoes were off this week. Looking at the very early standings, the Warriors and Gladiators both won in the Eastern Conference's Red Division. The Mustangs are a game back already. However, in the Blue Division, the Spartans are the only one with win, as the Dukes and Huskies are both a game back. In the Western Conference, the Cutters won, the Tornadoes are off, and the Cardinals are 0-1. Meanwhile, in the Blue Division, the Blaze and Buccaneers both remained 0-0 due to the no contest. Looking ahead to the upcoming schedule this weekend, the defending champion Buccaneers will host the Cutters. The Blaze and Tornadoes will both be 0-0 as they face each other. Blaze have half a game under the belt. The Tornadoes were off altogether last week. The Cardinals and Dukes face off, each trying to avoid an 0-2 start. Meanwhile, the only game of 1-0 teams is the Spartans traveling to face the Warriors. The Mustangs will go on the road to face the Gladiators, and the Huskies will be off. And finally, a look at the owners' poll, where there was quite a bit of movement at the top. The Gladiators, who were number 2, moved ahead of the Buccaneers, who had the no contest this week. The Spartans and Dukes also flipped spots, with the Spartans going to 3 and the Dukes dropping to 4. The Warriors moved up 3 spots from 8 to 5, and the Cutters moved up 1 from 7 to 6. The Blaze dropped from 5 to 7, and the Tornadoes dropped from 6 to 8. The Cardinals, Huskies, and Mustangs all remained 9, 10, and 11.